Welcome to my channel. For those who are new here, I am Cynthia Greer, in-depth spiritualist who works at the level of the soul. And if you are returning and a regular viewer, I am so grateful to you for sharing and liking my videos. Everything that you are doing to support me makes a difference, and it is a positive one. If you haven't done so, and you find that my videos are helpful, or they could be of benefit to others, please press those like, subscribe, and share buttons. Okay, adult ignorance and your physical, mental, and emotional health. Why am I bringing up this subject at this time? Well, it is because what we are living in on this planet is a direct reflection of that level of consciousness. And for those who are seeking evolution at a soul level, and they are developing their higher consciousness. Now, whether they are calling it the Christ consciousness, the divine, the universal, it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it is all one universal God force that is of the pure, the divine, and the good that is working with humanity and those who are open to accepting it. Those who are not open to accepting it will have another opportunity in another timeline. But for those who are in conscious awareness, and they know that they have an obligation to this planet, because they have been gifted with a very sacred life stream. They may not have had the best of upbringing or even any opportunity at all. But they came at a soul level when they were very young, or they awakened at a certain point in their life, and they knew that something was off. They knew that there was much more than what they were being shown or told. And at that moment of grand awareness, their angels and spirit teachers were beginning to connect and communicate with them, even though they may not have been aware of the high spiritual realms. So, adult ignorance, how does it affect us? Well, the examples that I can give you right now on the planet, one of the biggest ones I'm seeing, because for those of you who followed me for quite a while, you know that I am a stage 3 cancer survivor, and I also have osteoradionecrosis, bone death of the jaw. I'm under very stringent medical care, which I thank God for every day. I'm getting the very best. And as a result of that, it is a divine gift for me to go on and teach and bring you these messages. But along the way, it hasn't been easy, because I have directly dealt with the results of adult immaturity and ignorance that came very close to claiming my life on several occasions. And when I was at the darkest point of it, I remember several people telling me to make my arrangements, to make my plans to go on. And now that assisted suicide was legal in the USA, I wouldn't have any problem getting the help I needed to cross over. Now, mind you, these were adults who were not trained medically. Several of them actually were in the spiritual field, although they were very green. They were very young on their path and thought they knew everything, which was one reason I couldn't work with them, nor could anyone else, because it was all about fame and getting known and parroting what other teachers said without having the wisdom and discernment to back up what they were saying. So that was one of the things that I saw very clearly that played out in my life when I was diagnosed with the second disease. And the other thing was full-blown ignorance and childish behavior when it came to physical issues that could actually be life-threatening because the body was trying to tell me something. And I faced ridicule, I faced mockery, I faced scorn, I faced jokes being made about my physical condition, my teeth, which were rotting due to the bone rot from the osteoradionecrosis that I couldn't get treated for because I was too high of a liability. And if you want more on that, go through my playlist on medical malpractice and head and neck cancer. And there is a wealth of knowledge in those playlists. But when I was going through it, I couldn't believe the ignorance and the actual laughing about my physical condition and the laughing about the physical conditions of others. Now, this group of people that was doing it, okay, they were 50 plus, anywhere from 50 all the way up to their 70s. And they were in the survival mode of complete materialism, and it's all about the money, it's all about the money, to the point when I was in their presence, they actually looked like they had hit the insanity level, the level of insane behavior. And I knew that something was really wrong. Now, through the years of going through my illness and watching things play out on a political level, and I'm going to be frank, on both sides of the political aisle, I saw even more immature and ignorant behavior coming from those in power and control, because it was all about power and control. And this is why, at this point in time, that in the USA, they are having trouble figuring out why the majority of Americans have been poisoned by the food they eat and by the lack of medical care and the horrific living environments that they have been forced to endure through the greed of lack of adequate housing due to property buy-ups from corporations and from individuals who have adult ignorance and immaturity. Because let's face it, a highly evolved nation does not have a caste system. And this is where we are at this time. And it is passed down, this dictatorship mentality that always does come with a caste system, and it comes in many disguises in both sides of the political aisle. Sometimes it's hardcore tyranny that expresses itself, other times it's soft tyranny, which is just deprivation and turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to what the people are saying, and just going on and living in the lap of luxury and control. Well, this is where we are at right now. We have been here for decades. So we're not going to see any big changes overnight. We have to face that fact. And how does it begin? How do we face that fact? Well, it begins within us. It begins with our consciousness and how high we decide to take it. So it basically has to start in your own neck of the woods. And of course, when people have a spiritual awakening, they are not happy when they wake up and they see what they are living in. They see who they are married to. They see who they have been in love with, who didn't want to marry them, who they pined away with for the better part of their lives. When that truth is revealed, and you are sick and tired of the emotional roller coaster, that's when you get down to business. Now, for myself, in my early years, I did Al-Anon because I dealt with alcoholism in my family. It was really the only thing besides standard counseling that was available to me when I was very young. But as I grew with my spiritual teacher, I gained more insight, and I was able to round all that off and combine things. So one of the things that I learned, is that, first off, if you are in a living situation with an ignorant adult who is a child, be it a man-child in their 50s or a woman-child up in her 70s, really doesn't matter. The first thing that you have to do, if you do not have the money to get out, or if you are obligated to that person because they are a parent or a child, or it is a marital situation that you just can't leave, it begins up here. And I know this is going to sound harsh. I always say this because, well, it is harsh. Because you have to make the decision of whether or not you want to stay on this planet at some point, or checked out early. And if you don't want to check out early and you feel that there is something for you to finish, then you have to emotionally detach from everything that individual is doing. And that means stop watching what their eating habits are. Stop watching and monitoring and gauging how much TV they watch, how many ignorant friends they have, how many stupid games they're playing on the computer, their activities, choosing to not go to the doctor because that is usually a part of it, to where they have this attitude of, ha ha ha, we're going to all die sometime. Why don't you just get euthanized? I don't care. I'm going to just live and have a good time. Well, fine. Okay, but usually that leads to a tragedy in the end, like a drunken driving, car accident, a drug overdose, or a massive health crisis that isn't found until weeks before they kick the bucket. But that does not have to be your life. Doesn't have to be your reality. So the first thing that you have to do is cut it off. And when they choose to torment, because this is part of the sociopathic and narcissistic personality that comes with adult immaturity, you have to step away from the conversation. Do not argue, because arguing is fruitless. It's not going to get you anywhere. All it's going to do is drain you of your energy. What happens when your energy is drained? Then you open the door to immune system issues that open the door to getting sick, catching colds more frequently, getting run down, which opens you to even bigger things. Do not allow them to trigger you in any way. And this is very hard. I know, because I'm the queen of getting triggered, okay? And I wouldn't be making these videos if I haven't lived through these experiences myself. And that's how come I know how detrimental living in that kind of behavior is. And especially if you are an empath, boom, you are wide open, because you're going to be absorbing it like a sponge. So what will happen is eventually they will give up on you, and you'll start going your separate ways. Now, if someone has a severe mental illness, okay, and they have pickled the brain through drugs or through alcohol, which is becoming even more common, they usually will continue to torment when they are going into the insane stage of addiction. So, what I learned with Al-Anon was that always have your plan B lined up, because when they hit the insane level, that is when it's going to be it. they're at the point of no return. So, at that point, you're going to have to get out of the situation. But until you can, this is a good way to deal with it. Also, the other thing I want to mention here is do not, under any circumstances, try to preach to them about any kind of spirituality. Do not. Folks, read quotes, uplifting biblical scriptures. Don't give them dire warnings about their bodies, because they do not care. And in closing, I want to prepare you for the death wave. That is coming. It will be in the Western world, in the United States. And as it hits, it will show up in many people who are younger, not just older. And it is due to great physical neglect, the poisoning of our food, as well as the drugs and alcohol that have pickled the brain. So, for those of you who've been treading this path for quite some time, you have your work cut out for you. And it's going to require you to stay as grounded and centered as you possibly can. And on that note, I'm going to end it here, because I have a tendency to be too long-winded anyway. But I want you all to know that I may not know you personally, but your spirits, your souls, your energy is very apparent to me. And I feel your love and support. And I bless you with all the love of my heart. Take care.